support, this cannot be done. And welcome to this first series of virtual meetups with the business leaders of the countries of the Pacific Alliance and Singapore, the first associate member to the Pacific Alliance. In this occasion, we have a very interesting program to discover business and opportunities among the countries. So first, let's start by giving a welcome to Carlos Umaña, who is going to give us a key welcome remarks. Carlos.
Thank you, Angela. First of all, thank you to LATAM, to ProColombia, to our allied firm of Dwayne Morris for this event. I think that this is to some extent a groundbreaking event. We expect to have many more of these to increase knowledge about both Colombia and Singapore, and to attract foreign trade and investment for both countries. I have a couple of thoughts on the relation between Colombia and Singapore. And the first thing that to me was kind of surprised is that the diplomatic relations between the Singapore and Colombia were established in 1982. I had thought that the diplomatic relations had lasted, let's say, longer. So this is this year we're going to celebrate our 40th anniversary of having these diplomatic relations. As you all know, Singapore has joined the Pacific Alliance, has signed a free trade agreement with the Pacific Alliance. I think that this is a great leap for these South American countries and for Mexico. And I have no doubts that Singapore will contribute mainly to the energy sectors, to the digitalization sectors, to the logistics sectors, in our countries that really need the technology, need the knowledge, and the good acumen that Singapore has over those, let's say, activities or sectors. In the case of Colombia, the investment from Singapore in Colombia between January and September of last year was of $88 million. I think that it still is a modest figure, but I think that the best is yet to come. I think that also I have no doubts that Singapore will contribute to improve the quality of the logistic chain, of the Pacific Alliance countries. Singapore has lots to tell us, lots to teach us in terms of aviation, in the aviation business, in terms of the port business, and that is why I think that there is really a lot of room for improvement and for investment and trade in this regard. Then perhaps you must be wondering why we are going to have 5 different panels, and I will address the topics. The first one will be on technology. Singapore is already one of the economies that is very well known for their leadership in innovation and technology. Is one of the countries that is best recognized for being in the top of rankings of digitalization, connectivity, and safety, security. So that is why technology is a very good topic. Then logistics is Singapore is one of the most renowned countries in terms of logistics. Just the port of Singapore, and just go and see the airport of Singapore, or simply go and see how Singapore Airlines is run. Then something that to us, we Colombians, is a surprise, but we thought that because of that it's a great opportunity, and that has to do with food. Singapore is a leader in terms of technology associated with food. Then infrastructure, I already mentioned the airport and the port of Singapore, and that is why we feel that is a very important topic. And environmental sustainability, because Singapore goes forth in the ranking of the most sustainable countries, cities in the world, after London, Stockholm, and Edinburgh. So that is why we thought that these 5 topics will be of interest, at least for today. And after saying this, my invitation is to go to the panels and enjoy this morning in Colombia and the evening in Singapore. So thank you, Uncle.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Indeed, those are the opportunities that we see between Singapore and Colombia. And next, I will give a welcome to our honorary president of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce, Paulo Lizana, who will welcome the panelists for our next session. Paulo, please.
Thank you, Angela. And my welcome to all the attendees. Buenos días a Latinoamérica, buenos días a Colombia, good evening to Singapore. We are glad to be organizing this event, and thank you to Brigade Urrutia to supporting us. I think that's going to be the first event in a series, and with the aim and the main motivation of the Chamber to bring our regions closer. Therefore, the more I'm glad to be presenting and moderating the panel discussion we have today, where we want to address particularly all these activities and opportunities which we're looking forward in getting more connection, more business, more exchange between Colombia and the region, Latin America, and Singapore and the region in Southeast Asia. Therefore, we want to address in today's panel, and I'm glad to have significant representatives of different institutions to join me to discuss this topic. And therefore, I would like to welcome first Ana Milena Cortazar. She is Director of ANDI, Asociación Nacional de Empresarios Colombianos. I would like to welcome Sandra Salamanca, Executive Director of ProColombia in Singapore and Australia. I would like to welcome Francisco Rios, Business Director, Latin America of Enterprise Singapore. And I would like to welcome Michael Brennan, Managing Director of BBVA Spanish Bank in Singapore. And the topic we would like to address with my prestigious panelists is the key question: how do we foresee the relationship between Singapore and Colombia in terms of business and investments? And having the time we have, we thought to be a little bit pragmatic and efficient and have one question for each of the panelists, and to give the opportunity to talk about their views and to talk about opportunities we are looking for. And may I start the panel and with you, Sandra, and with the following question. In your view, Sandra, which Colombian industry has the highest potential to grow in Singapore and Southeast Asia in the years to come? And why would you think so?
Thank you very much, Paulo, and the Chamber of Commerce, and to Brigario Ruti and Carlos Umaña for giving us this opportunity to share ProColombia's views. First thing I would like to say about business relations between Colombia and Singapore is, as the invitation to this event mentioned, is that the signing of the trade agreement between Pacific Alliance and Singapore brings a lot of opportunities. But for Colombia also has another important thing, is that Pacific Alliance and Singapore FTA represent our first trade agreement with Singapore. Chile, Mexico, and Peru, that are also members of Pacific Alliance, have also enjoyed early access to Singapore to the TPP. But so the PASFTA allows Colombia to be on the radar of Singaporeans as partners to do business and think about Colombia as a destination for investments and tourism. Now, answering your question, I will focus my comments on Colombia industry outside the mining and energy. These two areas represent the largest industries within Colombia, but are cyclical. It is quite likely that there will be significant growth experienced by them, but ProColombia is dedicated to the diversification of Colombia's economy, and there are areas of tremendous opportunity outside of these two traditional industries. The industry sector, which we see as having significant growth potential over the next 5 years, is agri-foods industry. Some figures. In the first quarter of 2022, the agro industry exports to Singapore grew 160% year over year. This builds on the growth on 2021, when growth in this area was realized at 52 over 2020. Given the current shortage of food sources globally, Colombia offers a significant opportunity to assist Singapore to secure reliable source of a diverse range of high quality agricultural products. The main products exported in the first quarter of 2022 are achieving remarkable growth, include, of course, guess which product? Coffee. Green coffee, which is a traditional Colombian export and is known worldwide. Singapore is the hub for coffee trade in Southeast Asia, and we expect companies to use this platform. There are also opportunities for coffee derivatives, such as roasted in origin coffee and instant coffee. Palm oil. Palm oil is a product which has seen tremendous growth recently, and a product where Colombia ranks for globally in terms of production. With recent disruptions in supply chain and export restrictions being put in place in Indonesia, this product should see attractive export growth in 2022. But there is also a fact that it's important to mention, is that the 40% of the palm oil production in Colombia is sustainable, and I think this is key for Singapore market and for Southeast Asia market. Fresh fruit is another area seeing growth in exports. Colombia is an exporter of fruits globally, and we anticipate growth in terms of export in Singapore. In Singapore, we don't have to go through admissibility process as we go in Japan, in China, in Indonesia. So also it's very good opportunity for the exporters use Singapore as a platform. During the first quarter of 2022, Colombia exports of fresh fruits to Singapore grew by 100%. Another traditional export in Colombia that it's growing also in Singapore is fresh flowers. Fresh flowers exports grew by 119 in 2021 over 2020, and further 172 in the first quarter of 2022 versus the same period in 2021. an emerging area in terms of agri-food relates to cocoa. Colombia is a major producer of high-quality cacao, and we are in an early stage of making our capabilities and quality known in Singapore and in Southeast Asia. We are developing relationship with high-quality chocolatiers in Singapore and with the Cocoa Association of Asia. These efforts are expected to provide significant growth and export value from Colombia to this region. To close my presentation, I will say that there is also opportunities in chemicals and supplies for pharmaceutical industries. I think one of the panels will talk about a little bit of this. Of course, as agri-food. Colombia is one of the leading Latin American countries with well-developed petrochemical production, which allows the export of basic chemicals and related products. I have to talk a little bit about investment. Of course, we expect the investment in Singapore growing in Colombia, especially in the renewable sector and in infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. And I'm glad to hear and to see how many different products you mentioned and how many different opportunities we are having from the agri-industry, industrial products, but as well chemicals, and as well the impressive growth rates you mentioned, particularly in the first quarter of this year. So that gives us a kind of sign what might happen in the future. So thank you, Sandra, for your contribution.
You're welcome.
All right, let's continue. Francisco from Mexico. So good morning, Francisco. Glad to see you again.
Glad to see you too.
So to continue with the flow of the topic we have, I have actually, as I mentioned at the beginning, I wanted to have one question, but I can't avoid it to ask you more than one question, Francisco. Maybe it's a challenge for both of us to try to keep the timing, but nevertheless, having you on screen, I would like to use the opportunity. So knowing that Singapore is one of the most livable places in the world, solving the big challenges of urbanization despite limited land, water, and large populations, how could Colombia benefit from Singapore's urban solutions? So what can Colombia learn from Singapore? And let me add, please, how Colombian companies can use Singapore as a gateway to Southeast Asia. So very much questions related to, let's say, the business topic, the commercial exchange. But I have a question to you as well, Francisco, related to the very big picture. We saw recently Singapore signing as an associated member to join the Pacific Alliance. To us from the Latin American Chamber of Commerce in Singapore, we very much welcome this step, because for us it is a very clear signal telling us we want to get closer. There are areas where we can benefit from each other. How would you comment all these, Francisco? Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, the Chamber. Hola, Carlos. Hola, our very good friends. I think we're very well acquainted with each other in this panel. I was looking around. It's all very good friends. It's family almost, and that shows a bit of the relationship that we have been building throughout the years, and that is directly related to the Pacific Alliance free trade agreement that we signed. I think we are collectively sending a very strong signal to the world. Today, we're seeing forces that maybe oppose a lot of what has happened in the last maybe 20 years, which is globalization. We're currently seeing a lot of forces that are sort of opposing that, going the other way. And by signing the free trade agreement between a little country like Singapore and a big place like the Pacific Alliance, we're really sending a very big signal to the world saying, hold on, we should still be friends. We should still create better links. We should still create new links. So to help our companies and to help our people get closer. So I think that's the real intent of the Singapore Pacific Alliance FTA. As it was mentioned, hopefully once ratification is done, Singapore will become the first associate member of the Pacific Alliance, and this is, to us, is historic. A country that is not in the Pacific Alliance region, a country that is on the other side of the world, again, a very small country compared to the bigger region that the Pacific Alliance shows. It's a different way of thinking. It's a gateway for both regions to get closer together. And that's how we want Latin American companies to see Singapore as the gateway to reach out to Asia, both to come into Asia, but also to learn from Asia or see what are the developments that are happening in Asia to be applied into the Latin American region. So I will answer your second question first, in which I see that Latin American companies and Colombian companies can view Singapore playing 5 different roles. First, Singapore can become a very interesting center for Colombian companies to develop the strategy to engage Asia. And I'm not saying come into Asia, but engage Asia, which is very different. Understanding what's happening in Asia, what kind of trends are we seeing, and how to incorporate that into your own company, whether it is you need to open an office in Asia or trade with Asia. Singapore is very well positioned to help companies to formulate that strategy to get to know Asia much better. So that's the number 1 role. The number 2 role is actually to find the talent that will help you do that. Singapore is also very well positioned as a cosmopolitan city for you to identify who can help you out with the right language skills, depending on what are the countries that you're tackling in Asia, with the right knowledge, with the right marketing capabilities, with the right technical capabilities, for you to incorporate into your company and be able to create that dynamic with Asia. So number 1 is strategy, number 2 is talent. Number 3, I would say, and Mike later on will sure talk about that. Number 3, I would say, is financing. How do you finance your operations? Singapore is one of the largest financial hubs in the world. And it serves very well for international companies to do trade financing, to do infrastructure financing, to look for ways of getting cheaper money to develop their own projects, or do project financing and so forth. And with the kind of agreements that we have signed, that should facilitate Latin American and Colombian companies to look for that financing in Asia. So that's the 3rd role that I will highlight. The 4th one, it's our traditional one, it's trade. How to come into Asia, how to distribute your products, whether it's for Southeast Asia or Greater Asia. Singapore is also very well positioned. It has a great infrastructure for logistics. You can learn on what are the trends for logistics, what are the kind of things that you need to put in place to be able to trade better with Asia. Singapore can also play that role, but most importantly, play as your distribution hub for the region. So if you're going to bring your products, or Sandra was talking about coffee, if you're going to bring coffee into Asia, Singapore is very well positioned for you to figure out how to distribute it better, how to come into Southeast Asia and so forth. So that's the 4th role, a trade or a distribution center. And the 5th role, it's a source of partnerships. We believe that the Singapore companies are very well entrenched in Southeast Asia. Obviously, the Greater Asia, they have been working for years, and they have is their backyard. So when you look at tackling Asia or bringing even Asian technology or Asian innovation into your activities back in Latin America, Singapore becomes a very interesting source of partnerships, of potential companies that can help you out to develop your own technologies, to develop your own innovation, to bring a certain capability, but also to allow you to come into the Asian market through channels that are already created. So those are the 5 roles that I would like to highlight, Pablo. We could obviously extend the conversation, but I think we have a great lineup of both panelists and then the other panels. You will see some of my colleagues from Enterprise Singapore speaking at the Trade and Logistic panel, but also at the Innovation panel. And I wish you a very interesting session going forward. Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Very enlightening. And it's indeed, I mean, being many years in Singapore, I mean, it's quite impressive how you describe the 5 key roles Singapore might have, starting from the development of as a place, as a location to develop the strategy. The second point, we're having where to find talent. The third point, we're how to finance. We're afterwards, fourth point, trade, and very important, distributions hub for the region. And finally, right, the partnership, which is key. And I think all these are enablers and supporting elements to companies coming, or so that such companies coming from Latin America to explore the region, and they are going to see you can be successful if you do the things right. Thank you, Francisco. Let's move on to our next panelist, Ana Milena. Welcome, and it's a good morning to Colombia. Ana, we have one question for you, which is related to the relationship between the regions. How do you foresee the relationship between Singapore and Colombia in terms of business and investment?
Well, thank you very much, Pablo. It is a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you to Angela as well for organizing all this great sessions, and to Carlos Umaña as well, and all the panelists that are here. So first of all, to reply to your question, I would like to talk about 3 thematics. Why Colombia? Secondly, the opportunities with Colombia and Singapore. And thirdly, how to begin. That I think that's like a very key issue for the companies that are here hearing us. So why Colombia? Well, firstly, Colombia, you don't have to see it as just Colombia, but as a hub in Latin America. Colombia has more than 16 free trade agreements with the region, and is heavily highlighting the importance of integrating with the region of the Americas. So when you think about Colombia, you must not think just about Colombia single, but as well about Colombia and all the integrations that Colombia could bring to your business if you locate here. So firstly, the Pacific Alliance is a very important bloc to begin with. Colombia, Chile, Mexico, and Peru are basically trying to integrate and doing big efforts to integrate since 2012. And I think they've been reaching very important goals in this integration. For instance, the Pacific Alliance countries have been working in the harmonization of some sectors and some regulations of sectors to abolish trade barriers in some sectors such as pharmaceutics, medical supply chains, as well as some sectors such as cosmetics and home appliances. So the Pacific Alliance is not just a bloc that shows interesting numbers, but as well we are doing specific activities in order to promote a good commerce and trade inside the bloc. As well, Colombia and inside the Pacific Alliance, we are promoting the accumulation of rules of origin between the Pacific Alliance and the United States. That will be a very interesting issue if we actually advance on this matter, because it means that not only thinking about the Pacific Alliance will be thinking about Latin America, but as well how Latin America is integrated with North America and a country such as the United States. And if this goes on well, we will have many opportunities for Singaporean companies establishing in Colombia or any country of the Pacific Alliance that want to go to the United States and want to have like a regional presence. So seeing Colombia as a hub is the first step in order to see and foresee the opportunities of business between Colombia and Asia. As well, if you see Colombia and the Pacific Alliance has the 50% of imports and exports of the whole Latin America. So definitely is the bloc to be. And as well has about the 34% of the population. I mean, in terms of market, it's a very interesting region for all the companies in Asia that would like to come to the Americas. Secondly, and the second reason of why Colombia, Well, why Colombia, a part of being a very important player in the region, Colombia is targeting to a very important strategy in terms of net carbon zero footprint. So for 2050, our government and our private sector has been working in a strategy to be 0% carbon footprint. That's very important in order to attract investments that want actually to bring and have sustainability advantages. For this, our president, along with the president of Colombia, have written actually a strategy and a proposal and a route in order to get to 2015 with a net zero carbon footprint. We've been working along with circular economy projects, as well with the hydrogen strategy for Colombia, and as well with biodiversity and water strategies in order to actually get to this zero carbon net strategy to 2015. As well, the other reason why Colombia is because, well, Colombia is very good and very well located. And that's why Colombia is still a very interesting logistic hub. So these three reasons why Colombia should be like on top of the mind of the businessman. Well, now why we have opportunities with Singapore. Well, firstly, I would like to highlight that in July 2021, we finished the negotiations so that Singapore could be the first associate member of the Pacific Alliance. Actually, we signed this treaty on January 2022, and we are waiting for the implementation of the treaty in the 4 countries. This actually, as all the members of this panel have said, it's a very important deal because it actually gives the framework of work between the bloc of the Pacific Alliance and the first country in Asia, which is Singapore. This brings a lot of opportunities in terms of technology and digital transformation, as well energy, as well infrastructure and smart cities, and logistics, and obviously the food industry. So this framework facilitates transparency in the dialogue between the countries, and as well it facilitates how to get in touch with the business sector. Actually, inside the Pacific Alliance, we belong to the Pacific Alliance Business Council, and we are already having talks with the private sector of Singapore. So this framework facilitates this kind of dialogues, and as well gives some frameworks for protection, intellectual protection, and as well protections for consumers of the regions, and gives a framework to start working together. So indeed, the treaty gives a lot of opportunities for the relationship between Singapore and Colombia, and obviously Asia and the Pacific Alliance and the Americas region. Well, the last point I want to address is how to begin. Well, first of all, we've been already beginning along with the collaboration of LATAM-CHAM, thanks to Angela and Pablo. We are extending one of our key programs inside the Pacific Alliance to Singapore. This program is about how to help companies and SMEs with the help of young professionals, and how to help young professionals to actually get more involved in the private sector, do their international internships in order to start closing gaps between both regions. So I would like to close my remarks by talking a bit more about the Pacific Alliance Business Council internship program. This internship program, we have been collaborating and we started it in 2017. We have already helped more than 700 young professionals to do their international internships inside the Pacific Alliance bloc. And this has helped not only the young professionals, but as well the SMEs of the region, because now an SME can actually get to another country, get to Chile, get to Peru, get to Colombia with the help of a local professional. And this actually has been closed a lot of cultural gaps between our region. Now we are proposing this same project with Singapore, and actually we would launch the pilot program with help of the LATAM CHAM in the second semester of this year. Actually, we're having 2 companies of Singapore opening internships for Pacific Alliance students to go and do their internships. And as well, we have 1 company in the Pacific Alliance opening 2 places in order to welcome Singaporean interns to do their internship. This is a very simple step to begin, but this simple step could become very big step, because we believe that people are the ones that actually help to integrate the regions. We cannot integrate regions just from the above and the politics, but as well we need to integrate the regions through the very basics, such as our people and the benefits that we can bring to our people. So we hope this program that starts as a pilot program and that LATAM CHAM has helped us to integrate with and LATAM CHAM, and as well Singaporean government, Francisco especially has helped us as well to integrate with the academia there in Singapore. We believe this project could become a very special one in terms of helping both regions to integrate culturally, economically, and the most important thing, bring specific benefits to our SMEs and to the young professionals that are in our region. So thank you very much, Pablo, for this opportunity, and Angela, and we hope we can help to dynamize even more the relationship between Singapore and the Pacific Alliance and Colombia, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Milena. Thank you very much for your insights. And thank you as well. I mean, you mentioned a few key words indeed, for example, SMYs, which are in many countries the backbones of our economies, and how to prepare the path for these companies who want to participate of the opportunities which seems to be quite far away, but maybe they are not that far away, and they are getting closer with all the efforts we are putting from both parts of the ocean. Very, very structured as well, and very, very, very clear the key questions you addressed. Why Colombia, opportunities with Singapore, and how to begin. And actually for our next panel, whenever it comes, the 4th question is going to be not anymore how to begin, it's going to be how are we doing? So very glad to see that. Thank you, Ana Milena, for your contribution. Now, moving on to our last panelist, last but not least, there is no complete comprehensive discussion without including the parameter capital. And that's, Michael, the next topic we would like to address. So financial activities between Colombia and Singapore. Where do you see, Michael, the flow and movements of capital in the next years between the regions?
Well, thank you for the question, Pablo. Michael Brennan in Singapore. I work for BBVA, which is a multinational bank with businesses here in Singapore and also in Colombia. And later on, my colleague Andres Garcia of BBVA Colombia will also be speaking in the environment side room. Well, firstly, thank you very much, Ana Milena, also for pointing out the intern program, because I'm always very keen to cross-fertilize and bring in people from Latin America into Singapore if it's possible. So I'll try to act upon that. I'm going to go into, in a minute, a couple of themes on renewables and carbon markets. But before that, before we talk about business and money, I just want to very quickly talk about the cultural links, which I'm always very happy to see continue to evolve positively. Last month in the Iron Orchard shopping center in Singapore, there was an exhibition by the Colombian artist Fernando Botero. And his works usually sell for between 1 million Singapore dollars and 20 million Singapore dollars. And now a lot of them are hanging in some of Singapore's most beautiful houses. I think it's a recognition, putting money where one's mouth is. But moving to trade, And apart from these cultural transactions, Sandra described some of the trends earlier on. Enterprise Singapore have identified that last year there was 330 million Singapore dollars worth of trade between Colombia and Singapore. I think the mix of trade and investment is certainly going to change, and this is because again, to one of Ana Milena's points, the governments of both Singapore and Colombia are both focusing on being vehicles of investment for renewables and also taking an early lead on carbon credit trading systems. Colombia last year launched a green financing taxonomy to generate and sell carbon credits to corporations and investors. The government's also, as well as these nature-based offsets, as we call carbon credits, the government is also, of Colombia, is also targeting 2.8 gigawatts of new non-hydro renewable installed capacity, which is a huge amount. And the government's giving in tax incentives and requiring also wholesale power distributors to source a minimum amount of their power from renewables. Singapore similarly set up the Climate Impact X carbon credit trading exchange backed by Temasek and some other banks. And the government of Singapore has, fostered an environment where they have champions such as SemCorp and Sunseap, which may be able to play a role in Colombia and Latin America in the coming years. A couple of quick observations on the Pacific Alliance, which is a really important development. Without going over what's already been said, some of the possible changes or some areas of opportunity that hopefully could be addressed. The Pacific Alliance may help to generate more return cargo from Latin America to Asia, and that will improve and increase the quality of the shipping routes and allow even more trade. That would be a very good thing. And again, the Pacific Alliance, and also to some extent the adjustment recently of global investment appetites following Ukraine and related events may result in more investment from Singapore, potentially from the sovereign wealth funds and its major corporates in Colombia and in the other Pacific Alliance countries. So from BBVA, we see considerable upside and good years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. And my thanks to all the panelists for their contribution. I'm pretty sure we are going to see in the years to come a closer relationship between our regions, between our countries, and I'm looking forward to these. Thanks again to all the participants. Thanks again to the panelists. Back to you, Angela.
Yes.
Thank you very much to the panelists and the attendees. So now we go to our second session of this program. We have chosen 5 key opportunities, which is technology, logistics, food industry, sustainability, and infrastructure. So for the attendees, please join each of these tracks. You can see them on the screen, or you can go to the sessions and just click on join. And there you have a panel of experts who will be discussed on each opportunity. So please make your choice and we will meet you in the next sessions. Thank you.